Basharangaha, the feared chief of the Oyo Empire, was a man of immense power and cruelty. He was the head of the military and wielded authority that rivaled even the Alafin, the king of Oyo. Known for his ruthlessness, Basharangaha was a man who controlled the kingdom with an iron fist, and his presence alone sent shivers down the spines of both the commoners and the nobility. He had the heart of a lion, but his heart was as black as the darkest night. In the heart of Oyo, whispers circulated among the people about Gaha's cruelty. He was said to have a dog, a beast as monstrous as its master. This dog, named Aku, was no ordinary animal. It was said to have the cunning of a man and the loyalty of a demon. The two were inseparable, with Aku serving as both a guard and a symbol of JA's terrifying power. No one dared to approach A when Aku was by his side, for the dog was as ruthless as its master. As Basharangaha grew more powerful, so did his arrogance. He believed himself to be invincible, untouchable by any man, woman, or even the gods. Many of the Alafin's advisors warned the king of Gaha's growing influence, but fear kept the king from acting. Gaha was a man who would crush anyone who stood in his way, and his dog, Aku, was his enforcer in the shadows. It was said that Aku could smell fear, and once it did, death was inevitable. Gaha's cruelty knew no bounds. He would order the execution of anyone who dared to speak against him. His dog Ekin would often be seen dragging the bodies of his enemies through the streets of Oyo, leaving a trail of blood and fear in its wake. People began to wonder if Gaha was even human or if he had made some dark pact with the spirits of the underworld. The stories of his atrocities grew with each passing day. One fateful day, a young man named Adissa, a farmer by trade, lost his father to Gaha's cruelty. His father had been accused of stealing from the royal treasury, a crime he did not commit. Without trial or mercy, Gaha ordered his execution, and Aku was the one who delivered the final blow. Adissa, filled with rage and grief, vowed to bring Gaha to justice. But how could one man stand against the most powerful figure in the Oyo Empire? Adissa began to seek out the elders and wise men of Oyo. He knew that if he were to defeat Gaha, he would need more than just strength. He would need wisdom, strategy, and perhaps divine intervention. The elders told him of the ancient spirits that watched over the land, spirits that had long been forgotten by the people of Oyo. If he could win their favor, they might help him bring down the mighty Basharan. Adissa traveled far and wide, seeking the blessings of the old gods. He offered sacrifices, performed rituals, and meditated in sacred groves. After months of searching, he encountered a mysterious old woman who lived deep in the forest. She was known as Aya Orin, the mother of the spirits. It was said that she had lived for centuries and had the power to see into the hearts of men. Aya Orin listened to Adissa's story and saw a way to defeat Gaha, but it would require great sacrifice. The bond between Gaha and his dog, Aku, was the source of his power. If Adissa could sever that bond, JA would fall. Aya Orin handed Adissa a small, intricately carved statue of a dog made of black wood. This is no ordinary statue, she said. It is imbued with the power of the spirits. You must find a way to place this near Gaha's dog. Once you do, the bond between them will weaken, and JA will lose his strength. But beware, young man, for the path ahead is dangerous. Many have tried to bring down GAA, and many have failed. With the statue in hand, Adissa returned to Oyo. He knew that getting close to Gaha and Aku would be nearly impossible, but he was determined. He began to gather a small group of allies, people who had also suffered at the hands of Gaha. Among them was Alayemi, a former palace guard who had been exiled by GAA for refusing to carry out one of his cruel orders. Together, they formed a plan. Adissa and his allies waited for the right moment to strike. They knew that Gaha would never suspect an attack from within the city itself. One evening, during a royal banquet, they made their move. Alayemi, using his knowledge of the palace, led them through hidden passages until they were just outside outside Gaha's private quarters. Inside, they could hear Gaha talking to his dog Aku. With bated breath, Adissa carefully placed a carved statue near the entrance to Gaha's chambers. The moment the statue touched the ground, the air grew thick with an unnatural silence. Aku, sensing something was wrong, began to growl, but its growls soon turned into whimpers. The bond between Gaha and Aku was weakening, just as Oren had said. Gaha, unaware of the source of his dog's distress, tried to calm Aku, but it was no use. The dog, once fierce and loyal, began to cower in fear. Panic set in as Gaha realized that something was terribly wrong. His connection to the dog was fading, and with it his power. For the first time in years, Gaha felt vulnerable. He was no longer the invincible tyrant he once was. Sensing the opportunity, Adissa and his allies stormed into the room. Gaha, caught off guard, reached for his sword, but his movements were sluggish, his strength diminished. Aku, the once feared beast, lay trembling on the floor, powerless to protect its master. Adissa confronted Gaha, his eyes burning with a desire for justice. "Your reign of terror ends tonight, Gaha," Adissa declared. Gaha, still defiant, sneered at Adissa. "You think you can defeat me, boy? I am Basharan Gaha, the most powerful man in Oyo." But his words lacked the force they once had. Without the bond to his dog, Gaha was just a man who had made too many enemies and committed too many atrocities. The fear that once gripped the hearts of men was fading, replaced by a growing sense of hope. Adissa and his allies fought fiercely, but Gaha, even weakened, was still a formidable opponent. The battle raged on, but it was clear that Gaha was losing. As the fight continued, Aku let out one final, pitiful whine before collapsing to the ground, lifeless. The bond was broken completely. Gaha, realizing his defeat was imminent, made one last desperate attempt to escape. But Adissa was ready. He blocked Gaha's path and with a swift and precise strike, brought the tyrant to his knees. Gaha, gasping for breath, looked up at Adissa with a mixture of anger and fear. "The gods have abandoned you, Gaha," Adissa said coldly. "Your time is over." With that, Adissa delivered the final blow, ending the reign of Basharan Gaha once and for all. The news of Gaha's death spread like wildfire through Oyo. The people, who had lived in fear for so long, rejoiced in the streets. The tyranny that had oppressed them for years was finally over. Adissa, though victorious, did not see himself as a hero. He had done what needed to be done, but the cost had been great. He knew that the scars of Gaha's reign would take time to heal. The Alifin, grateful for Adissa's bravery, offered him a position of power within the court. But Adissa refused. He had seen what power could do to a man, and he wanted no part of it. Instead, he returned to his farm, content to live a simple life, free from the corruption of the palace. The people of Oyo, however, would never forget his name. In time, the story of Basharan Gaha and his dog became a legend, passed down from generation to generation. It was a tale of power and its dangers, of how even the mightiest of men could fall if they let their hearts be consumed by darkness. And it was also a tale of hope, of how even in the darkest of times, there were those who were willing to stand up for what was right, no matter the cost. Though Gaha and his dog were long gone, their memory lingered like a shadow over Oyo. The elders would often tell the story to remind the young ones of the importance of justice and humility. Power.
In a village named Ayegbaju, there lived a woman named Amokpe. She was known far and wide for her exceptional hair-braiding skills. Her fingers danced with precision, weaving hair into intricate patterns and left everyone in awe. It was said that no one in the region could match her talent. Amokpe's shop was always filled with women from different villages, each eager to have their hair braided by the famous hairdresser. Her designs were unlike anything anyone had ever seen, so perfect. In a village named Ayegbaju, there lived a woman named Amokpe. She was known far and wide for her exceptional hair-braiding skills. Her fingers danced with precision, weaving hair into intricate patterns and left everyone in awe. It was said that no one in the region could match her talent. Amokpe's shop was always filled with women from different villages, each eager to have their hair braided by the famous hairdresser. Her designs were unlike anything anyone had ever seen, so perfect, so intricate, that many wondered how a human could create such beauty. Despite her fame and the constant stream of customers, Amokpe had one peculiar rule. No mirror were allowed in her shop. Customers were forbidden to see their hair while she was working on it. This strange rule made many people curious, but no one dared to question her. The women in the village simply accepted this rule, trusting that Amokpe would make them look beautiful. After all, her work spoke for itself. But as the years passed, whispers began to spread. Why was Amokpe so strict about the mirrors? What was she hiding? Unknown to the villagers, Amokpe's extraordinary skill was not entirely her own. She had made a secret pact with a spirit known as Aju, an Orisha who dwell in mirrors. Aju had offered Amokpe a gift, unmatched talent in exchange for a promise. The promise was simple but binding. Amokpe must never allow anyone to see their reflection while she worked on their hair. If this rule was broken, the spirit would take away her talent and the consequences would be severe. At first, Amokpe hesitated. She knew the risk of making a deal with a spirit, but the temptation was too great. She wanted to be the best, to be known far and wide for her skills, and so she accepted the pact, thinking she could easily keep her promise. For years, the arrangement worked perfectly. Aju would guide her hands as she braided, weaving patterns that seemed most otherworldly. Amokpe's fame grew, and soon even royalty sought her services. But with fame came envy, and some began to question her talent. One day, a woman named Layo came to Amokpe's shop. Layo was known for her beauty and pride, and she had heard much about Amokpe's skill. However, she was also curious about the rumors surrounding the no mirror rule. As Amokpe began to work on Layo's hair, the young woman couldn't help but feel uneasy. She had brought a small hidden mirror with her, determined to uncover the truth behind Amokpe's rule. As Amokpe's finger moved swiftly through her hair, Layo waited for the right moment. When Amokpe turned her back to fetch some beads, Layo quickly pulled out the mirror and glanced at her reflection. What she saw shocked her to the core. In the mirror, she didn't just see Amokpe's braided hair. She saw the shadow figure of a spirit guiding Amokpe's hand. The spirit's eye glued with an hair light, and its finger moved in sight with Amokpe's. Layo gasped, and in that moment, Aju the spirit realized that the pact had been broken. The air in the room grew cold and the lights dimmed. Amokpe felt the change immediately. She turned around and her eyes locked onto the mirror in Layo's hand. Her heart sank as she saw the reflection of Aju beside her. The spirit's face twisted in anger and a low, menacing voice filled the room.
You have broken our hearts, Amope.
Aju hissed.
You promised to keep my presence a secret, and now you shall pay the price.
Amope fell to her knees, pleading with the spirit. Please, Aju, forgive me. I didn't mean for this to happen. I have kept my spirit for so long. Please don't take away my gift. But Aju was unmoved. The spirit raised its hand, and Amope felt a strange sensation in her fingers. Her hands, once so nimble and skillful, began to stiffen. The pain was unbearable, and she knew that her talent was slipping away.
You were warned, Amope.
Aju said coldly.
Your greed for fame has led to your downfall. From this day forward, your end shall be clumsy as a child's.
With those words, the spirit vanished, leaving behind a cold, empty silence. Amope stared at her hands, tears streaming down her face. She tried to move her fingers, but they were stiff and unresponsive. Her gift was gone. Morayo, still holding the mirror, watched in horror as Amope's hand trembled. She realized the gravity of what she had done. Although her curiosity had uncovered the truth, it had also ruined Amope's life. Morayo quickly left the shop, guilt weighing heavily on her heart. News of the incident spread quickly through the village. People were shocked to learn that Amope's talent had come from a spirit. Many felt betrayed, while others were simply afraid of what had transpired. As the days passed, Amope's shop grew quiet. No one came to her shop for braids anymore. The once bustling place that had been filled with laughter and chatter now echoed with silence. Amope sat alone, staring at her hands, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. The villagers who had once praised her now whispered behind her back. Some even believed that Amope had caused the village by breaking apart with the spirit. They avoided her, fearing that misfortune would follow anyone who came too close. Amope's fall from grace was swift and painful. She wandered the village in despair. Her hands useless, her reputation shattered. She could no longer create the beautiful braids that had brought her fame, and she struggled to find purpose. Despite her hardship, Amope did not give up entirely. She knew that she had made a terrible mistake, but she was determined to make amends. She sought out the village elders, hoping they could help her find a way to appease the spirit. The elders listened to her stories with grave expression. They knew that dealing with spirits was dangerous, but they also believed in redemption. They advised Amope to embark on a journey to the sacred forest, where she could seek the counsel of the ancient Babalawo, a powerful diviner with little choice left. Amope set out on her journey. The path to the sacred forest was long and treacherous, filled with dangers, both natural and supernatural. But Amope was determined to find a way to restore her life. After days of traveling, she reached the sacred forest. The air was thick with mystery, and the trees seemed to whisper secrets as she passed. Deep within the forest, she found the Babalawo's shrine, a small hut surrounded by ancient symbols and offerings to the gods. The Babalawo was an old man with eyes that seemed to see into her soul. He listened to her story, nodding slowly as she explained her plight. When she finished, he remained silent for a long time, as if weighing her fate. Finally, he spoke. You have made a grave mistake, Amope. The spirit Aju is not easily appeased, but there is a way to seek forgiveness. You must perform a ritual of atonement, one that will test your resolve and humility. The old man instructed Amokpe to gather specific items for the ritual: sacred herbs, a white cloth, and a mirror made of pure silver. These items were difficult to find, but they were necessary to contact the spirits once more. Amokpe spent weeks searching for the items. She traveled to distant villages, battled with traders, and even faced dangerous creatures in the wild. But eventually, she collected everything she needed. With the items in hand, she returned to the sacred forest. The old man prepared the ritual, drawing intricate symbols on the ground, chanting ancient prayers. He placed the mirror in the center of the circle and instructed Amokpe to gaze into it. As Amokpe looked into the mirror, she saw her reflection change. The spirit Ajud appeared once more, its eyes filled with the same cold